In the year 2120, a brilliant physicist named Dr. Alex Thomson made a groundbreaking discovery. He had found a way to manipulate time and travel through it. The scientific community was in shock, as the implications of this discovery were staggering. For the first time, humanity had the ability to change the past and shape the future. Dr. Thomson quickly assembled a team of scientists and engineers to build a time machine. After years of hard work, the team successfully built a prototype machine that could send a person back in time for a short period. The team decided to conduct a test, and Dr. Thomson volunteered to be the first person to travel through time. He set the machine to send him back to the year 1900, for a period of 1 hour. As he stepped into the machine, he felt a surge of energy, and the next thing he knew, he was standing in the streets of New York City in the year 1900. Dr. Thomson quickly realized that he had the ability to change the course of history. He could prevent disasters, stop wars, and shape the future in any way he wanted. He decided to use his power for good and began to travel through time, making small changes that would have a big impact on the future. Dr. Thomson traveled back to the year 1914, and prevented the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand, which led to the outbreak of World War I. He then traveled to the year 1929, and prevented the stock market crash that led to the Great Depression. He also went back to the year 1945, and prevented the atomic bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. As he traveled through time, Dr. Thomson began to realize the consequences of his actions. He had changed the course of history, and the future was not what he had expected. The world was a better place, but it was also different. He began to question whether he had the right to change the course of history, and if the changes he had made would have a positive effect in the long run. Dr. Thomson decided to return to his own time, and share his findings with the scientific community. He warned them of the dangers of time travel and the responsibility that came with it. He also told them that time travel should be used with caution, and only for the greater good. The scientific community was in awe of Dr. Thomson's discovery, but they also took his warning to heart. They decided to use his time machine for the betterment of humanity and to make sure it was used responsibly. As the news of Dr. Thomson's discovery spread, it sparked a global debate about the ethics of time travel. Some saw it as an opportunity for humanity to correct past mistakes and shape a better future, while others feared that it could lead to unintended consequences and irreversible changes in the timeline. Dr. Thomson and his team were invited to speak at an international summit, where they presented their findings and shared their experiences of traveling through time. They also proposed a set of guidelines for the responsible use of time travel, including the need for extensive research, extensive testing, and oversight by a governing body. Despite the guidelines, some countries and organizations began to develop their own time travel technology, with the intention of using it for their own gain. This led to a new arms race, as countries competed to gain an advantage by traveling back in time and changing key events in history. Dr. Thomson and his team were horrified by the misuse of their discovery and decided to take action. They formed a secret organization, dedicated to preventing the misuse of time travel and protecting the timeline. They called themselves the Timekeepers. The Timekeepers used their knowledge of time travel to monitor the timeline and intervene when necessary, to prevent any damage to the continuity of history. They also worked to gather information about the actions of other time travelers and to stop them from making any changes that would harm the timeline. Despite their efforts, the Timekeepers could not stop all misuse of time travel. Some changes had already been made, and the timeline was becoming increasingly unstable. The Timekeepers knew that they needed to find a way to fix the timeline and restore its continuity. Dr. Thomson and his team made the decision to travel back in time to the point where time travel was first discovered, and prevent it from ever happening. They knew that it would be a dangerous mission, and that it would mean giving up their own future, but they were willing to make the sacrifice for the greater good. As the Timekeepers stepped into their time machine, they knew that their actions would have a profound effect on the timeline. They also knew that the future was uncertain and that they could not predict the outcome. If you like this video, please give it a like and share. Subscribe the channel for more amazing stories.